Edgar Cayce was in the middle of giving a reading when something unprecedented happened. The person he was channeling information for had just died in a hospital 200 miles away, and Cayce's consciousness followed that soul through its first moments after death. What he witnessed and documented in that session would shock even his most devoted followers and reveal the most detailed account of those first 60 seconds after death ever recorded. Before we dive into these life-changing revelations from over 14,000 documented readings, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next about consciousness, the afterlife, and your soul's incredible journey. Have you ever wondered what really happens the moment your heart stops beating? Edgar Cayce, working from his trance state in Virginia Beach, provided the most detailed account of those first precious moments after death that has ever been documented. And what he revealed will shake you to your core. In the next few minutes, I'm going to share 3 earth-shattering discoveries from Cayce's readings. First, the shocking moment of recognition your soul experiences. Second, the incredible choice you'll face that determines your entire afterlife experience. And third, the surprising connection to your current life that most people never realize exists. But here's what makes this even more incredible. Cayce didn't just theorize about death. He actually witnessed the transition process through his psychic abilities, documenting case after case of souls crossing over. Reading 136 to 83 contains one of the most detailed accounts ever recorded of a soul's first moments in the afterlife. According to Cayce's documented readings, the very first thing that happens when your soul separates from your physical body is what he called the moment of great awakening. In reading 26285, Cayce described how a recently deceased individual experienced an immediate expansion of consciousness that was, in his words, like suddenly seeing the sun after living in a dark cave your entire life. But wait, there's something even more remarkable about these first 60 seconds. Cayce revealed that your soul doesn't just drift aimlessly into some unknown realm. Instead, something extraordinary happens that most people have never heard about. In those crucial first moments, according to Reading 14722, your soul encounters what Cayce called the silver cord review. This isn't some mystical fairy tale. This is a documented phenomenon that Cayce witnessed repeatedly in his trance states. The soul literally reviews its entire earthly existence in a matter of seconds, but not in the way most people think. Here's where it gets absolutely mind-blowing. Cayce discovered that during this rapid life review, your soul doesn't just see what you did. It experiences what you did from the perspective of everyone you ever interacted with, every act of kindness you showed, every harsh word you spoke, every moment of love or fear you created. Your soul experiences it all from both sides. One documented case from the ARE archives involves a businessman from Kentucky who had what we'd now call a near-death experience in 1932. When Cayce gave a reading about his experience, he revealed that the man's soul spent those first moments experiencing his entire life through the eyes of his employees, his family, and even strangers he'd encountered. The man later confirmed details that only someone who had lived through his experiences could know. But this raises a crucial question that will determine your entire afterlife experience. What happens next in those first 60 seconds depends entirely on something most people never consider during their lifetime. Cayce revealed in Reading 57493 that after the life review, your soul faces what he called the great choice. This isn't about being judged by some external force. This is about your soul's own recognition of its spiritual development and what it needs to continue growing. Here's what Cayce documented happens next, and this will absolutely amaze you. Your soul, now fully aware of its earthly patterns and spiritual progress, gets to choose its next phase of existence. But here's the shocking part that most people miss. According to Cayce's readings, some souls choose to remain close to the earth plane to help loved ones, while others immediately progress to higher spiritual dimensions. In Reading 28116, Cayce described a case where a mother who had passed away chose to remain in what he called the borderland to guide her children through a difficult period. Her soul's first 60 seconds included not just her life review, but an immediate understanding of her family's future needs and her decision to delay her spiritual progression to serve as their guardian. This changes everything about how we think about death and consciousness. But wait, there's something even more incredible that Cayce discovered about these first moments. According to the documented readings, your soul's experience in those first 60 seconds is directly influenced by your spiritual preparation during physical life. Cayce consistently taught that souls who had developed their spiritual awareness through meditation, prayer, and service experienced what he called a smooth transition, while souls who had lived purely material lives faced confusion and disorientation. Reading 1709-2 contains Cayce's description of a soul who had practiced daily meditation during earthly life. According to the reading, this individual's transition was described as like a bird taking flight from a familiar tree to soar into infinite sky. The soul immediately recognized its new state and moved forward with confidence and purpose. But here's where Cayce's revelations become practically life-changing for you right now. In reading 26289, he explained that we can actually prepare our souls for this transition while we're still alive. The spiritual practices you develop today directly impact your experience in those crucial first 60 seconds after death. Cayce revealed that souls who had regularly connected with what he called the God Force through prayer and meditation experienced immediate recognition and peace. Those who had served others selflessly found themselves surrounded by spiritual helpers during the transition. But those who had lived in fear or materialism faced what Cayce described as a period of confusion and disorientation. One documented case from 1934 involved a Virginia Beach resident who had studied Cayce's teachings and prepared spiritually for years. When this individual passed away, Cayce was asked to track their soul's experience. The reading revealed that their transition was so smooth and conscious that the soul was able to immediately communicate reassurance to their grieving family. Now here's something that will absolutely shock you about your soul's capabilities in those first moments after death. Cayce discovered that newly transitioned souls retain all their earthly memories and personality, but with expanded spiritual awareness that allows them to understand the purpose behind every experience they had. But this raises a question that could change your entire perspective on life. If your soul carries forward everything you've learned and experienced, and if those first 60 seconds determine your next phase of existence, what are you doing right now to prepare for this inevitable transition? According to reading 37444, Cayce explained that the souls who had the most positive transition experiences were those who had learned to let go of material attachments while still appreciating earthly experiences. They had developed what he called spiritual detachment, not meaning they didn't care about life, but that they understood life's temporary nature and their soul's eternal journey. Here's where Cayce's teachings become incredibly practical for your daily life. He consistently taught that every choice you make, every thought you think, and every action you take is building the spiritual foundation that will determine your soul's experience in those crucial first moments after death. One of the most remarkable cases in the ARE archives involves a skeptical doctor from New York who initially dismissed Cayce's teachings. After experiencing his own near-death event in 1936, he sought out Cayce for a reading. What Cayce revealed about the doctor's brief journey into the afterlife exactly matched what the doctor had experienced, including details the doctor had shared with no one. According to the reading, the doctor's soul had experienced those first moments as a brilliant awakening, where all his scientific knowledge suddenly made sense within a larger spiritual framework. His years of healing others had created what Cayce called a pathway of light that guided his soul's transition. But wait, there's something even more amazing about what happens to your consciousness in those first 60 seconds. Cayce revealed that your soul doesn't lose its individuality or personality. Instead, it gains what he called cosmic awareness, while retaining everything that makes you uniquely you. Reading 26286 describes how a recently deceased individual maintained their sense of humor, their love for their family, and their personal interests, but now understood how these earthly characteristics fit into their soul's eternal development. It's not that you become someone else after death. You become more fully yourself than you ever were during physical life. This revelation has profound implications for how you live right now. If your personality and consciousness continue after death, then every aspect of who you're becoming during this lifetime matters eternally. Your kindness, your wisdom, your spiritual growth, your capacity for love. All of these continue and expand beyond physical death. Cayce's readings consistently showed that souls who had lived consciously and spiritually during earthly life experienced those first 60 seconds as a joyful homecoming. They recognized the spiritual realm as their true home and understood their earthly life as a valuable learning experience that had prepared them for greater service. But here's what makes Cayce's revelations even more credible. Many of the individuals who received life readings from Cayce later reported experiences that exactly matched what he had predicted about their soul's journey. The ARE Foundation in Virginia Beach has documented hundreds of these cases where Cayce's spiritual insights proved accurate. One particularly moving case involves a young mother from Ohio who consulted Cayce about her fear of death while battling a serious illness in 1938. Cayce's reading assured her that her soul's transition would be peaceful because of her devotion to her children and her spiritual practices. When she passed away several months later, family members reported that her final moments were filled with apparent joy and recognition, exactly as Cayce had predicted. Now here's the most incredible part of what Cayce revealed about those first 60 seconds. Your soul's experience isn't just about your individual journey. According to Reading 254-68, souls who transition consciously immediately become part of what Cayce called the great work of spiritual evolution, helping other souls both on earth and in spiritual dimensions. This means that your spiritual development during this lifetime isn't just about your personal growth. It's about preparing to serve in ways you can't even imagine right now. The love you develop, the wisdom you gain, the spiritual awareness you cultivate, all of this becomes part of your soul's equipment for helping others on their eternal journey. Cayce taught that souls who had lived lives of service and spiritual awareness often chose to become what he called spiritual guides for souls still in physical incarnation. Your grandmother who always seemed to know just what to say. Your friend who had an uncanny ability to appear when you needed help. According to Cayce's readings, these might be souls who chose to use their afterlife experience to continue serving others. But this raises a profound question about your current relationships and purpose. If consciousness continues after death, and souls can choose to help those still in physical life, how might this change your understanding of the guidance and synchronicities you experience right now? Reading 1947-3 contains Cayce's explanation of how souls who had transitioned peacefully often work to create what he called spiritual opportunities for their loved ones still on Earth. They can't interfere with free will, but they can create circumstances that support spiritual growth and awakening. One documented case from the ARE files involves a businessman whose deceased father had received a life reading from Cayce. After the father's death, the son began experiencing a series of seemingly coincidental events that led him to discover spiritual teachings that transformed his life. When he consulted Cayce about these experiences, the reading revealed that his father's soul was indeed working to create opportunities for his son's spiritual awakening. Here's what this means for your life right now. According to Cayce's teachings, you're surrounded by loving spiritual assistance from souls who have made the transition consciously. Those moments of inspiration, those sudden insights, those perfect timing events that seem too meaningful to be coincidence, these might be evidence of souls who experienced those first 60 seconds after death as an awakening to their ability to serve from spiritual dimensions. But the most transformative aspect of Cayce's revelations about death is what they reveal about life. If those first 60 seconds after death are determined by your spiritual preparation during physical life, then every day you're alive is an opportunity to create a more conscious and joyful transition experience. Cayce consistently taught that the souls who experienced the most beautiful transitions were those who had learned to live with what he called an attitude of spiritual expectancy. They approached each day knowing that they were eternal beings having a temporary earthly experience, and this perspective filled their lives with meaning and purpose. Reading 262-87 describes how a soul who had lived with this spiritual awareness experienced those first moments after death as a gentle awakening from a dream into a more vivid reality. There was no fear, no confusion, only recognition and gratitude for both the earthly experience and the expanded awareness that followed. This is the gift that Cayce's revelations offer you right now. You don't have to wait until death to begin experiencing expanded consciousness. The spiritual practices that prepare your soul for a conscious transition also enhance your awareness and joy during physical life. According to Cayce's readings, souls who meditated regularly during earthly life found that this practice had created what he called channels of light that guided their transition. Prayer had developed their connection to divine guidance. Service to others had built spiritual strength that supported them through any challenges. But here's the most amazing discovery from Cayce's thousands of readings about death and consciousness. Those first 60 seconds after death aren't an ending. They're a graduation ceremony where your soul celebrates everything it has learned and looks forward to greater opportunities for growth and service. One final case from the ARE Archives perfectly illustrates this truth. In 1941, a man who had been studying Cayce's teachings for years was approaching death. His family asked Cayce what they could expect. The reading revealed that this soul's transition would be like a student who had completed their studies with honors and was excited to begin more advanced learning. When the man passed away peacefully several weeks later, his final words were reportedly about the beautiful light he was seeing and the wonderful teachers who were waiting to welcome him. His experience exactly matched what Cayce had predicted about souls who approach death with spiritual preparation and conscious awareness. This brings us to the most important question of all. Now that you know what Edgar Cayce revealed about those crucial first 60 seconds after death, how will you use this knowledge to live more consciously and spiritually right now? Remember, every moment of kindness you express, every prayer you offer, every act of service you perform, every step you take toward spiritual understanding is preparing your soul for the most important transition you'll ever make. You're not just living for today. You're building the spiritual foundation that will determine your eternal journey. If this video has opened your eyes to the incredible spiritual journey that awaits your soul, please share it with others who need to hear this message, like this video, to help it reach more people who are seeking truth about consciousness and the afterlife. And don't forget to subscribe with notifications on, because there's so much more to discover about Edgar Cayce's amazing revelations about life, death, and the eternal journey of the soul. Your soul's greatest adventure is still ahead of you, and now you know how to prepare for it. The first 60 seconds after death could be the most beautiful moment of your eternal existence, and it all depends on the spiritual choices you make starting right now. Have you ever met someone and felt like you've known them forever? Or walked into a place you've never been before, yet it feels hauntingly familiar? Edgar Cayce, America's most documented psychic, gave over 14,000 readings that revealed a shocking truth. We do remember our past lives, but not in the way you think. In the next 28 minutes, I'm going to show you exactly what Cayce discovered about why these memories are hidden from our conscious minds, and more importantly, how you can begin to access them. If you're ready to understand the real reason behind your deepest fears, unexplained talents, and those mysterious connections you feel with certain people, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell, because what you're about to learn will change how you see your entire existence. The year was 1923, and Edgar Cayce was about to receive a reading that would shake his Christian beliefs to the core. Arthur Lammers, a wealthy printer from Ohio, had convinced Cayce to explore something beyond his usual medical readings. What came through that day would launch Cayce into territory he never expected: detailed descriptions of past lives, karma, and reincarnation. But here's what shocked everyone in that room, including Cayce himself. The sleeping prophet revealed that forgetting our past lives isn't an accident or a flaw in the system. It's actually a carefully designed aspect of spiritual evolution. But wait, before we dive deeper into why this forgetting mechanism exists, let me ask you something that might make you reconsider everything you think you know about memory. Have you ever wondered why a 3-year-old can speak with perfect grammar about places they've never been? or why some children have unexplained phobias that make no sense given their current life experiences. Cayce's readings revealed that children often do remember their past lives, but we adults train them to forget. In reading 2067-1, Cayce described how a young boy's recurring nightmares about drowning were actually memories from a previous life, where he had died in a shipwreck. The child's parents, thinking these were just bad dreams, kept telling him it wasn't real. Within months, the memories faded, replaced by the rational explanations of the adult world. This pattern, Cayce explained, happens to most of us before we turn 7 years old. Here's what Cayce revealed in his life readings that changes everything about consciousness. Our souls choose to forget specific details of past lives before incarnating, but they never choose to forget the lessons, talents, and emotional patterns we've developed. Think of it like this. Imagine you're going to school and every morning you could remember every single test you took in previous grades, every embarrassment, every failure, every perfect score. You'd be so overwhelmed by the past that you couldn't focus on learning new material. The readings consistently showed that our higher selves, working with spiritual guides, create what Cayce called a veil of forgetfulness that allows us to approach each life with fresh perspective, while still carrying forward the wisdom we've earned. But here's where it gets fascinating. This veil isn't complete. It's designed with deliberate gaps that allow certain memories to surface when we need them most. In 3 minutes, I'll show you the reading that shocked even Cayce's stenographer, Gladys Davis, when it revealed how birthmarks and physical ailments are actually the soul's way of remembering past life trauma. But first, let me tell you about the most common ways past life memories try to break through the conscious barrier. Cayce's readings revealed that our bodies are like living libraries of past life experiences. In reading 288-6, he described how a woman's birthmark below her left breast was the exact location where she had been stabbed to death in a previous incarnation. Her husband in that same lifetime also carried a corresponding mark on his body in the present life. They had both been murdered together, and their souls chose to carry physical reminders of that shared trauma into their current incarnation. This changes everything about how we understand physical ailments and unexplained fears. That chronic pain in your lower back might not just be from sitting at a desk all day. According to Cayce's readings, persistent physical conditions often stem from past life injuries or traumas that the soul is still processing. The readings showed case after case where understanding the past life origin of a physical problem led to complete healing in the present. But wait, there's something even more incredible about how past life memories surface. Cayce revealed that our dreams are actually the most direct pathway to accessing these hidden memories. In reading 294-136, he explained that during sleep, our conscious mind steps aside and our soul memory becomes active. This is when past life experiences can surface as vivid dreams that feel more real than our waking life. Here's a documented case from the ARE archives that demonstrates this perfectly. A woman wrote to Cayce describing recurring dreams where she was a young man in ancient Egypt working as a scribe in a temple. The dreams were so vivid, she could remember specific hieroglyphs and architectural details. When Cayce gave her a life reading, he confirmed not only that she had lived that Egyptian life, but that her current talent for languages and her unexplained knowledge of ancient history were direct carryovers from that incarnation. This brings us to one of the most important revelations from Cayce's readings. We don't just randomly reincarnate with strangers. The sleeping prophet consistently revealed that we travel in what he called soul groups, the same souls choosing to incarnate together lifetime after lifetime, playing different roles to help each other grow spiritually. That person you feel an instant connection with, that friend who understands you without words, that family member you clash with constantly despite trying to get along. According to Cayce's readings, these are likely souls you've shared multiple lifetimes with, working out karmic patterns and learning lessons together. In reading 1579-1, Cayce described how a mother and daughter, who couldn't stop fighting in their current life, had been sisters in ancient Greece, where they had competed bitterly over the same man. The karmic pattern of rivalry had carried forward, but now they had the opportunity to transform that competitive energy into mutual support and understanding. But here's what makes this information truly powerful for your spiritual growth. Cayce revealed that once you understand these connections, you can consciously choose to heal old karmic debts and create new positive patterns with the souls in your life. Now you might be wondering, if forgetting is natural and necessary, how can we safely access past life information when we need it? Cayce's readings provided specific guidance on this, and I'm about to share the exact method he recommended. The readings emphasize that past life memories should only surface when we're spiritually mature enough to handle them constructively. Cayce often said that remembering a past life where you lived and died under a cherry tree in grandmother's garden doesn't make you a better person in this life, but remembering that you spoke unkindly to someone and suffered for it, and then using that knowledge to choose kindness in the present, that's spiritually valuable. This is why Cayce's life readings always came with a crucial caveat. Only such information as would be helpful to the entity at this time would be given. The readings revealed that our souls and spiritual guides carefully monitor what past life information we're ready to receive and integrate positively. Here's the method Cayce recommended for safely accessing past life memories: meditation combined with prayer for spiritual guidance. But not just any meditation. He gave specific instructions that are still used today at the Edgar Cayce Foundation in Virginia Beach. The process begins with entering a meditative state and asking for protection and guidance from the highest spiritual sources. Then, instead of trying to force memories to surface, you simply hold the intention to understand current life challenges or unexplained patterns from a soul perspective. Cayce emphasized that the right information will come at the right time, often through dreams, sudden insights, or meaningful synchronicities. But wait, there's something crucial you need to understand about why some people seem to remember past lives easily while others struggle to access any memories at all. Cayce's readings revealed that the ability to consciously remember past lives is actually related to how many lifetimes a soul has experienced and how developed their spiritual awareness has become. In reading 5749-14, Cayce explained that newer souls, those who haven't had many Earth incarnations, often have little conscious access to past life memories because they don't yet have the spiritual framework to process such information constructively. More experienced souls, who have developed wisdom through many lifetimes, may have greater access to their soul memories because they can use this information for continued growth rather than getting lost in past drama. This explains why some people seem naturally drawn to spiritual studies, meditation, and metaphysical concepts while others show no interest at all. According to Cayce, it's not about being better or worse. It's about where each soul is in their individual journey of spiritual evolution. Here's where Cayce's teachings become incredibly practical for modern Americans. He revealed that we can use present life clues to understand our past life patterns without needing dramatic regression experiences or psychic readings. Your unexplained talents are often past life carryovers. That person who picks up musical instruments effortlessly, the child who seems to understand complex mathematics intuitively, the adult who has natural healing abilities. Cayce's readings consistently showed these as skills developed in previous incarnations. Your deepest fears often point to past life traumas. The person who's terrified of water, despite never having a drowning experience, someone with an inexplicable fear of certain historical periods, or phobias that seem completely irrational, these frequently stem from traumatic past life endings that the soul still remembers. Your instant attractions and repulsions to certain people usually indicate past life connections. That love at first sight feeling, the person you immediately distrust for no logical reason, the stranger who feels like family. Cayce's readings revealed these as soul recognitions based on previous lifetime relationships. In reading 1152-11, Cayce described how a woman's instant attraction to ancient Roman history and her natural ability to speak Latin stemmed from multiple lifetimes in the Roman Empire. She had been a teacher in that period, and her soul retained both the knowledge and the passion for that historical era. But here's what's truly fascinating about Cayce's approach to past life memory. He emphasized that the most important past life information comes not through dramatic visions or regression sessions, but through understanding the spiritual lessons and growth opportunities in your current life circumstances. Every challenge you face, every relationship that triggers strong emotions, every situation that pushes you to grow, these are precisely the experiences your soul chose before incarnating. The specific details of past lives matter far less than understanding how those previous experiences prepared you for the spiritual work you're here to do now. Cayce's readings revealed that souls choose their life circumstances, including family location, physical body and major challenges, based on what they need to learn and heal from past life experiences. That difficult relationship with your parent, the health challenge you're facing, the career obstacles that keep appearing. According to Cayce, these aren't random misfortunes. They're carefully chosen opportunities for soul growth. This perspective transforms how we approach life's difficulties. Instead of feeling like victims of circumstance, we can recognize every challenge as a chance to master lessons our soul has been working on for lifetimes. Here's a powerful example from the ARE archives. A man came to Cayce suffering from severe arthritis that doctors couldn't explain or treat effectively. The life reading revealed that in a previous incarnation, he had been a cruel taskmaster who forced others to work in painful physical conditions, showing no compassion for their suffering. His current arthritis was his soul's way of experiencing and understanding the pain he had caused others, developing the compassion he had lacked in that previous life. Once he understood this connection, he was able to approach his condition not with bitterness, but with acceptance and a commitment to serving others who suffered from similar conditions. His arthritis didn't disappear overnight, but his relationship with the pain transformed completely, and he found ways to use his experience to help others. This brings us to one of Cayce's most important teachings about past life memory. The goal isn't to remember past lives for entertainment or ego gratification. The goal is to understand the spiritual patterns we're working with so we can make more conscious choices in the present. The readings consistently emphasized that dwelling on past life personalities or achievements can actually hinder spiritual growth. Cayce often cautioned people against getting caught up in who they might have been, especially if those past lives involved fame, power, or spiritual authority. Instead, he encouraged people to focus on recognizing past life influences in their current talents, challenges, and relationships, then use that understanding to make positive choices in the present moment. Now let me share with you the most profound insight from Cayce's readings about why we forget past lives, and how this forgetting is actually an expression of divine love and wisdom. According to the readings, souls exist in a state of perfect memory and awareness between lifetimes. We can see all our past experiences, understand the karmic patterns we've created, and clearly recognize the lessons we need to learn. From this expanded perspective, we choose not only our next life circumstances, but also how much past life memory to carry into that incarnation. The forgetting happens because too much conscious memory of past mistakes, traumas, and failures would overwhelm most people and prevent them from approaching life with hope and enthusiasm. Imagine if you remembered every time you had died, every relationship that had ended badly, every mistake you had made across multiple lifetimes. You might be too afraid or discouraged to take the risks necessary for continued growth. But here's the beautiful part. While specific memories are veiled, the wisdom you've gained, the love you've learned to express, and the spiritual insights you've developed, these remain accessible to your conscious mind. This is why some people seem naturally wise beyond their years, why certain individuals have an innate understanding of spiritual principles, and why others demonstrate remarkable compassion even if they've had relatively easy lives. The soul retains its earned wisdom while getting a fresh start to apply that wisdom in new circumstances. Cayce's readings also revealed that as we spiritually evolve, we naturally gain access to more of our soul memory, but only as much as we can handle constructively. Advanced souls often have clearer access to past life information because they've developed the spiritual maturity to use such knowledge for service rather than ego enhancement. This explains why many spiritual teachers, healers, and those dedicated to serving others often have some conscious awareness of their soul's journey across lifetimes. They need this information to fulfill their chosen service roles effectively. Here's something that might surprise you about Edgar Cayce himself. Even though he gave thousands of life readings for others, he was initially resistant to receiving information about his own past lives. As a devout Christian, the concept of reincarnation challenged his religious beliefs. But the evidence that came through his readings was so consistent and verifiable that he eventually had to accept reincarnation as spiritual truth. The readings revealed that Cayce had been a high priest in ancient Egypt, where he had misused spiritual power and caused harm to others. His current life's work as a humble healer who helped people freely was his soul's way of balancing that past misuse of authority. This personal karmic understanding helped him approach his psychic gift with humility and dedication to service. As we near the end of our exploration into why we can't consciously remember our past lives, let me leave you with the most practical guidance from Cayce's readings about working with soul memory in your daily life. First, pay attention to your natural talents and interests. These often point to skills and knowledge developed in previous lifetimes. Instead of taking these abilities for granted, recognize them as gifts your soul has earned and find ways to use them in service to others. Second, examine your deepest fears and strongest emotional reactions. These frequently stem from past life experiences that your soul is still processing. Rather than avoiding these triggers, approach them with curiosity and compassion, asking what lessons they might hold for your spiritual growth. Third, notice the people who evoke strong, immediate reactions in you, both positive and negative. These are likely souls from your past with whom you have unfinished business or ongoing learning relationships. Approach these connections with awareness and intention to heal old patterns and create positive new ones. Fourth, trust your dreams and meditative insights. When you're in relaxed, receptive states, past life information may surface naturally. Don't force or analyze these experiences too intensely. Simply receive them with gratitude and ask for guidance about how to apply any insights constructively. Finally, remember that the point isn't to become obsessed with past lives, but to use soul-level understanding to make better choices in your current incarnation. Every day offers opportunities to express love instead of fear, to choose service over selfishness, to respond with wisdom instead of reacting from old patterns. Edgar Cayce's 14,000 documented readings consistently revealed that we are eternal souls on a journey of spiritual evolution, temporarily forgetting our past so we can fully engage with our present opportunities for growth. The forgetting isn't a limitation. It's a gift that allows us to approach each life with fresh hope and unlimited potential. Your current life circumstances, relationships, and challenges aren't random. They're carefully chosen by your soul as the perfect conditions for your next level of spiritual development. By understanding this, you can approach every experience as a sacred opportunity to express more love, develop greater wisdom, and serve the higher good. If this perspective on past life memory resonates with you, I encourage you to like this video, share it with others who might benefit from these insights, and subscribe to this channel for more content exploring Edgar Cayce's profound spiritual teachings. In the comments below, let me know if you've ever experienced what might be past life memories surfacing in dreams or meditation. Your experiences could help others recognize their own soul memories. Remember, you are an eternal soul having a temporary human experience, carrying within you the accumulated wisdom of many lifetimes, perfectly equipped for the spiritual work you came here to accomplish. The fact that you can't consciously remember your past lives isn't a flaw. It's evidence of the divine intelligence that designs each incarnation for maximum growth potential. Trust the process, embrace your current journey, and know that every experience is contributing to your soul's eternal evolution. What if everything you thought you knew about Jesus was just the final chapter of an incredible spiritual journey that spanned thousands of years? What if the man who walked the shores of Galilee had lived not just once, but multiple times throughout history, each life preparing him for his ultimate mission? Before you click away thinking this sounds impossible, let me share something that will completely change how you see the greatest story ever told. If you've ever wondered about the mysteries of reincarnation, spiritual evolution, or felt drawn to the deeper teachings about consciousness, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell, because what I'm about to reveal comes from one of America's most documented psychics, Edgar Cayce, and his incredible readings that have been verified time and again. Between 1901 and 1944, from his home in Virginia Beach, Edgar Cayce gave over 14,000 documented psychic readings while in a deep trance state. But here's what shocked even his closest followers. In multiple readings, Cayce revealed that the soul we know as Jesus had lived at least 30 previous incarnations before Bethlehem. Today, we're going to explore 5 of the most significant lives that shaped the consciousness that would become Jesus the Christ. And I promise you, by the end of this video, you'll understand spiritual development in a completely different way. The first life takes us back to the legendary continent of Atlantis, over 100,000 years ago. According to Cayce's reading 3644, the Christ soul first appeared on Earth as a being called Emilius. But wait, this wasn't a physical incarnation as we understand it. Instead, Emilius was what Cayce described as the first expression of divine mind, the Logos, manifesting in a spirit body before souls took on physical form. Picture this incredible scene from Cayce's trance readings. In Atlantis, humanity faced its greatest crisis. The first wave of souls who had descended from higher dimensions, called the sons of men in the Bible, had become trapped in grotesque half-animal forms through their misuse of free will. These weren't the beautiful human bodies we know today, but strange hybrid creatures that resulted from souls becoming entangled with the material world too quickly. Here's where it gets absolutely fascinating. Emilius, according to Cayce, was the leader of the second wave of souls, the sons of God, who voluntarily chose to descend and help rescue their trapped brothers and sisters. But instead of just pulling them out, Emilius did something revolutionary. He directed the process of human evolution itself, creating the perfect physical form that souls could inhabit, the human body as we know it today. Reading 364-8 reveals that Emilius essentially became the cosmic architect of human consciousness, setting up the spiritual framework that would allow souls to experience physical life while maintaining their connection to the divine. This is why Cayce often referred to this being as the first Adam, not just the biblical figure, but the original template for human spiritual development. But here's what will blow your mind about this Atlantean period, and I'll share something in just a moment that connects directly to modern archaeological discoveries that seem to validate Cayce's impossible claims. Before we continue with these incredible revelations about Jesus' past lives, I want to ask you something. Have you ever felt like you were meant for something greater? Like there were memories just beyond your reach, knowledge that felt familiar even though you'd never learned it? That could be your own soul memory awakening. If this resonates with you, take a moment to like this video and let me know in the comments about any unusual spiritual experiences you've had. Now, according to Cayce's readings, after the fall of Atlantis, the Christ soul reincarnated as several biblical figures, each life building upon the last. But there's one incarnation that changed everything. And when I tell you about the documented evidence that supports this claim, you're going to be amazed. The soul that had been Emilius next appeared in the Bible as Enoch, the mysterious patriarch who walked with God and never died. In reading 2:67-11, Cayce revealed that Enoch was Jesus in a previous life, serving as humanity's first great spiritual teacher. But here's what's absolutely incredible. Enoch didn't just teach spiritual principles, he actually documented them. According to Cayce, Enoch was the author of the first written spiritual texts, the foundation upon which all later religious teachings would be built. And get this, when the Dead Sea Scrolls were discovered in 1947, 2 years after Cayce's death, they contained extensive quotations from the books of Enoch, validating Cayce's claim that these writings were considered sacred scripture by Jesus' contemporaries. The New Testament book of Jude, written by Jesus' brother, directly quotes from the book of Enoch, calling it prophecy. How could Cayce have known this connection decades before these ancient manuscripts were discovered? The synchronicity is stunning, but Enoch's mission was even deeper than just writing. According to reading 364-9, Enoch served as the bridge between the spiritual realm and physical earth, teaching humanity how to maintain divine consciousness while living in material bodies. He was essentially preparing the way for what would eventually become the Christ message of divine love, overcoming material limitation. Here's what Cayce revealed that will change how you see spiritual evolution forever. Enoch didn't just disappear from earth as the Bible suggests. Instead, his consciousness ascended to what Cayce called the throne chariot of divine awareness, becoming a template for the spiritual awakening that every soul could eventually achieve. This connects directly to what Jesus would later teach about the kingdom of heaven being within us. The same consciousness that had been Enoch was developing the very spiritual principles that would culminate in the Christ message. But wait, there's an incarnation that bridges the gap between the Old Testament patriarchs and the coming of Jesus that will absolutely fascinate you. Next came one of the most mysterious figures in all of biblical history, Melchizedek, the priest-king of Salem who blessed Abraham with bread and wine. Now here's where Cayce's readings become almost prophetic in their accuracy. In reading 2067:11, Cayce revealed that Melchizedek was Jesus in a previous incarnation, serving as both king and priest during Abraham's time. But get this incredible detail. Cayce stated that Melchizedek actually wrote the book of Job, that profound exploration of human suffering and divine purpose. When Cayce was in trance, he would often quote specific passages from Job, saying, "Who recorded same the Son of Man?" Melchizedek wrote Job. The New Testament book of Hebrews calls Jesus a high priest after the order of Melchizedek, but most Christians never understood what this really meant. According to Cayce, it meant Jesus was literally returning to complete the priestly mission he had begun as Melchizedek thousands of years earlier. Here's what's absolutely mind-blowing. When the Dead Sea Scrolls and Nag Hammadi codices were discovered, they revealed that the Essenes, the very spiritual community that Cayce said Jesus belonged to, viewed Melchizedek as a cosmic, angelic figure, nearly identical to how Christians would later view the risen Christ, the bread and wine that Melchizedek shared with Abraham. According to Cayce, this was the first communion ceremony, establishing the sacred ritual that Jesus would later use at the Last Supper. The same soul was literally creating the spiritual practices in one life that he would fulfill in another. But here's what I find most fascinating about the Melchizedek incarnation. Cayce revealed that this was when the Christ soul learned to perfectly balance spiritual authority with humble service, the exact combination that would make Jesus' ministry so powerful. Reading 254:68 indicates that as Melchizedek, this soul established the school of the prophets that would eventually become the Essene community where Jesus would later be trained. Can you see the incredible continuity of spiritual purpose across these lifetimes? But there's an incarnation that shows us something completely different about how spiritual development works, and it involves one of the most dramatic stories in the entire Bible. The fourth significant incarnation takes us to ancient Egypt, where the Christ soul lived as Joseph, the son of Jacob. Now reading 294:189 reveals something that will give you chills about divine planning. Joseph's entire life story was essentially a rehearsal for Jesus' mission. Think about these incredible parallels that Cayce pointed out. Joseph was rejected by his own brothers, just as Jesus would be rejected by his own people. Joseph was thrown into a pit and left for dead, symbolically anticipating Jesus' death and burial. Joseph rose to become the savior of Egypt during 7 years of famine, just as Jesus would become the spiritual savior during humanity's spiritual famine. But here's the detail that proves Cayce was accessing something beyond normal human knowledge. He revealed that Joseph entered Pharaoh's service at age 30, the exact same age Jesus would begin his ministry. Both lives followed identical patterns of early rejection, apparent death, resurrection to power, and ultimate salvation of their people. According to reading 2067-7, Joseph's gift of dream interpretation wasn't just a psychic ability, it was the same divine consciousness that would later allow Jesus to understand the spiritual meaning behind all earthly experiences. Joseph was literally learning to read the symbolic language of the soul. But there's something even more profound here. Cayce revealed that Joseph's forgiveness of his brothers who had tried to kill him was the spiritual groundwork for Jesus' teaching about loving your enemies and forgiving those who persecute you. The same soul was learning, lifetime after lifetime, how to transform hatred into love through divine understanding. Reading 3:41-9 indicates that Joseph's successful leadership of Egypt during the famine years was preparing the Christ soul for the ultimate challenge, leading humanity out of spiritual starvation through the bread of life that Jesus would offer. And here's what connects this directly to your own spiritual journey. Every challenge that Joseph faced in that lifetime, every moment of despair in prison, every temptation to use his power for personal gain instead of service, was building the spiritual strength that would allow Jesus to resist Satan's temptations in the wilderness and stay true to his mission even unto death on the cross. The pattern is absolutely clear. Each lifetime was a classroom where the Christ soul learned specific lessons that would be essential for the ultimate mission of human redemption. But the final incarnation before Jesus might be the most controversial, and it reveals something about spiritual development that could change everything you believe about how souls grow. The fifth incarnation brings us to Joshua, the warrior who led the Israelites into the Promised Land after Moses' death. Now, this one challenges a lot of people because Joshua was known for military conquest, which seems completely opposite to Jesus' message of peace and love. But here's what Cayce revealed in reading 2072:4 that will completely change your perspective. Joshua's role wasn't primarily as a warrior, but as a spiritual scribe and psychic channel for Moses. According to Cayce, much of what we attribute to Moses was actually received and recorded by Joshua through spiritual dictation. This explains one of the Bible's great mysteries. How could Moses have written about his own death in Deuteronomy? According to Cayce, Joshua completed Moses' writings after receiving the information psychically from the departed prophet's consciousness. But here's the deeper spiritual lesson. Reading 294-189 reveals that Joshua's military campaigns were actually symbolic of the soul's battle against material temptation and lower consciousness. The enemies that Joshua conquered in the Promised Land represented the negative thought patterns and selfish desires that prevent us from entering our own spiritual Promised Land. Every victory that Joshua won through faith and divine guidance was preparing the Christ consciousness for the ultimate spiritual battle that Jesus would fight, not against human enemies, but against the forces of ignorance, fear, and spiritual darkness that keep humanity separated from divine love. According to Cayce, Joshua's absolute obedience to divine guidance, even when it didn't make logical sense, was developing the spiritual surrender that would allow Jesus to say, "Not my will, but thine be done," in the Garden of Gethsemane. Reading 20:67-11 indicates that Joshua's role in establishing the 12 tribes in their territories was practice for Jesus' work with the 12 disciples, each representing a different aspect of human consciousness that needed to be aligned with divine will. But here's what's most profound about the Joshua incarnation. Cayce revealed that this lifetime taught the Christ soul how to be simultaneously gentle as a dove and wise as a serpent, how to have perfect compassion for human weakness while maintaining unwavering commitment to spiritual truth. The battles that Joshua fought externally were preparing Jesus to fight internally. Against every temptation to use spiritual power for personal gain, every moment of doubt about his mission, every human desire to avoid the suffering that divine love sometimes requires. Now here's what ties all 5 of these incarnations together into one incredible pattern of spiritual development that could revolutionize how you understand your own soul's journey. Looking at these 5 lives, Emilius in Atlantis, Enoch the scribe, Melchizedek the priest king, Joseph the dream interpreter, and Joshua the spiritual warrior, we see a perfect curriculum of spiritual education. Each lifetime developed specific qualities that were absolutely essential for the Jesus mission. From Emilius, the Christ soul learned cosmic responsibility, how to guide spiritual evolution for all humanity, not just personal development. From Enoch, he learned how to translate divine wisdom into human language that could be preserved and transmitted across generations. From Melchizedek, he learned how to balance spiritual authority with humble service, how to be both king and priest. From Joseph, he learned how to transform personal suffering into universal compassion, how to forgive the unforgivable. From Joshua, he learned how to maintain perfect obedience to divine will, even in the midst of earthly conflict. According to reading 57:4-9-14, These weren't random incarnations. They were a carefully designed spiritual curriculum, with each lifetime building upon the previous one's lessons. The soul that would become Jesus was literally attending what Cayce called the University of Human Experience, preparing for the most important spiritual mission in human history. But here's what makes this relevant to your life right now. According to Cayce, every soul goes through similar patterns of development across multiple lifetimes. The challenges you're facing, the gifts you're developing, the relationships you're healing, all of it is part of your own spiritual curriculum, preparing you for whatever unique service your soul came here to accomplish. Reading 281-37 reveals that many souls who lived during these ancient times, who worked alongside these incarnations of the Christ soul, are incarnating now in America and around the world, drawn together again to help establish what Cayce called the new age of spiritual understanding. Maybe that's why this information resonates so deeply with you. Maybe you were there, in Atlantis or ancient Egypt or biblical Palestine, learning alongside the soul who would become Jesus, and now you're here again, ready to apply those ancient lessons to modern spiritual challenges. The pattern that Cayce revealed through these readings isn't just about Jesus's development. It's about how consciousness itself evolves, how love learns to express itself more perfectly through experience, how souls grow stronger and wiser through every challenge they face. Whether you accept the literal reality of these past life claims or see them as profound spiritual metaphors, the message is clear. Every life is sacred, every experience is purposeful, and every soul is on a journey toward the same destination that Jesus reached, perfect love expressing itself through human consciousness. According to reading 262-49, the Christ consciousness that was developed through all these lifetimes isn't just a historic achievement, it's the template for human spiritual potential, the goal toward which every soul is evolving. The same divine love that was perfected through the experiences of Emilius, Enoch, Melchizedek, Joseph, and Joshua is the love that wants to awaken in your heart right now. This is why studying these spiritual teachings isn't just about understanding the past. It's about accelerating your own spiritual growth in this lifetime. Every quality that was developed through these ancient incarnations, cosmic responsibility, divine wisdom, humble service, transformative compassion, and perfect obedience to love, these are the same qualities that will make your own life a blessing to everyone you meet. If this incredible journey through Edgar Cayce's revelations about Jesus's past lives has opened your mind to new possibilities about spiritual development and reincarnation, please take a moment to share this video with someone who might need to hear this message. Make sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you don't miss our upcoming videos about Edgar Cayce's other amazing spiritual revelations, including his predictions about America's spiritual future and the coming age of enlightenment. And let me know in the comments which of these 5 incarnations resonated most strongly with you and why. Your soul might be remembering something important about its own ancient journey toward divine love.